Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Sith Council. So happy that you guys are joining us once again for our rewatch series. We've got a rewatch series here. We're doing New Hope today. I mean, come on. This is where a lot of us fell in love with Star Wars. Not everybody, but a lot of us fell in love with Star Wars. So we're going to be revisiting the 1977 classic, the one that started it all. Not just started Star Wars, started the big blockbuster. It started it all. And what an absolute fun time we're going to have. It's me, it's Mike, it's Steph Sabraw, and we're going to be getting into it. Before we do, I want to let you guys know, once again, October 8th, it's coming up right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be doing a full show. We're going to be doing a full show, myself and Mark Ellis at the New York Comedy Club. And look at this. Look at that picture. Marisol McKee, the first ever woman to capture the championship, first African-American to win the singles championship. She defends it against her own faction mate, the Cobra, Chance Ellison, and in the undercard, Harwitz versus Newman. Get your tickets. Schmodown Live. We're going to be there on October 9th. And last, but certainly not least, this is on Friday. This is Sunday. My good friend, well, in quotes, Steph Sabraw will not be there. Mike Kalinowski will be scaring people on the streets, but I will be cracking jokes at Flappers Comedy Club on September 26th, 9 p.m. Get your asses there if you can. The link is in the description. All right. We got a great show today. I'm excited for it. Are you excited for it? Well, good. Here we go.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Sith Council. Oh, how you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. It is the 6th or 5th, I don't remember, one that we've done so far of this. Rewatch, look at these characters. Move over a little bit with you. Mike Kalinowski, Steph Sabraw.
Okay, hold on.
6.
I had to move close to
6th,
Steph.
right?
6.
It's the 6th.
Because we didn't do Clone Wars.
For the record,
No.
I'm Christian's actual friend, not quotations.
Yeah, well,
Obvious quote,
friends prove that by actions, so that's all I'm saying. I told Roxy, it's like, you guys can always pre-tape because live, nobody really cares about live anymore. She's like, we can't pre-tape.
Pre-tape what, the World Girls?
Yeah, pre-tape the World
not?
Girls.
It's so live-based right now. We obviously want to go
Because you look
to,
at the chats.
Yeah.
Okay, I
It's
got
a
you.
lot of interaction.
This look like a piece of chicken for you today? This look like a...
Christian just made direct eye contact with me and burped, and then I rolled.
That's what he thinks of the World Girls. Yeah. When am I coming on to World Girls?
This should be the big thing. I'll just tell you that.
Is this a piece of chicken? Does it look like chicken?
Yes.
Jimmy Chicks.
No, Jimmy Chicks, Jimmy Foods. It's good though. Everybody wants. That's why people tune into this show to hear you eat and
It's
drink
my
a big gulp.
breakfast, all right? If we're gonna...
So when you eat on the way here, it's like an hour drive.
What am I, a heathen? I eat and drive at the same time?
Yes.
What's the matter with you?
Oh, you're not from the. Oh, you're from.
I
Florida.
drive stick. I can't
Are you
do that.
from Florida?
You drive stick?
I'm born in New York.
Born in New York. That's what I was
I'm
saying.
not
What
born in
part of
Florida.
New York?
Upstate, Buffalo. That's why I know
That's
Kaiser.
not really New York.
Yeah, it is.
You met Kaiser when you were a baby?
Yeah, I met Kaiser. I said that's
Nice.
where
That's how I know
and
Kaiser's
I
what
would
you
love
said.
to see you guys in like a little play.
Two babies.
Yeah, 2 babies.
And they start crying, and then Mike goes, "Let me stop you right there." And Kaiser looks over and goes, "Well,
KO, you gonna say something? Huh? What are you gonna say, KO?
why don't you hand me that the pacifier and shut your face?" Anyway, look, we're talking about New Hope. Mm-hmm. And I mean, this is one. I mean, they're all fun to watch. Obviously, it's Star Wars, but this one you get a little bit more excited because it's the one that started it all. It was like the 1977 one. Mike saw it in the theater when he was 15 years old, and it was a blast. But it doesn't get old. There's the only scene acting wise that gets me is that they added into the version. You know what I'm talking about?
You're saying?
At the X-wing, right before Luke
Oh,
gets
no,
it.
I didn't think that.
Right, but when Luke runs into Biggs, and then the commander, you probably know the commander's name, and he tells him, he's like, "You sure you're ready for this?" And then Biggs just gives him one line.
You can handle this, Luke?
Right, and Biggs gives him one line of telling him he's the best, blah, 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 and then the guy goes, "Yeah, I'll be all right." It's like,
Yeah, I'll be
really,
all right. And he just slaps him with the glove. Yeah, I'll be all right.
really have to sell you.
yeah,
No.
that was a really quick
That's why
turnaround.
he
doesn't
dies
work
quick.
because I watched it last night again. It makes it looks worse than anything else in the film is the Jabba scene.
Oh, that yeah. That's
Like I remember
edition
when
was.
97 when that re-released, and we're like, oh my god, yeah. You don't think, but then you watch it, you're like, oh, this is awful, and all the Like the Ronto that rears up and drops a Jawa, it looks so bad.
Right.
Like, please.
It was that was them setting you up.
Can't we go back to?
But that was them setting you for the prequels.
I know.
That's all it was.
I
But
know.
that's why everybody always asked for the regular versions of it because that stuff looks bad. But out of all the stuff I don't like in the special edition stuff, I don't like that they changed the crate dragon sound like that. Obi-Wan. It sounds like a drunk NASCAR fan. I was like, woo!
I rewound it because I forgot that they did that. I was like, is that Obi-Wan? Just like, yo!
They changed. It's like, woo! Just sounds like, Cletus! Come on! Go! Woo! Come on, we gotta save the kid from the people!
He comes on like riding with
that was. I mean, but it doesn't take away from how great the movie is. It's just a little bit there's only a few changes in there that are jarring. But again, you see what they're going for, the setup for the prequels, but the story, man, and everything about it. It's just you realize, and you hear about this a million times over, and we would probably say a lot of stuff that people have said in the past, but it is such a ballsy move in this movie to lead with the droids. Like the droids are everything in this movie for like the first like 12 or 13 minutes or whatever it is. It's like, you see Leia and you see but she doesn't
for
really.
For a second. She has
really,
like 3 lines.
She hands R2 the thing and then it's like, but you have like, that's a risk. And that doesn't happen today. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, wait, we're not going to see any of the humans because this is the whole point with George of what George Lucas had to do is that people forget how much of an independent film this really was. Mm-hmm. And I always tell people the book that they should read, and I've told you guys, is How Star Wars Conquered the Universe by Chris Taylor. And it goes into this movie was not like accepted by the studio at all. It was not. They thought it was going to bomb.
Right.
Definitely thought it was going to bomb. I forget the movie that they were pushing at the moment, but the story basically pans out like this: is that the deals with the theaters was you're getting. Let's say the movie was called I don't know, The Romans. Whatever, I don't remember.
The Romans.
It's easy enough. Let's say the movie that everybody's talking about was The Romans. Yeah. So The Romans is like, okay, you guys, if you want The Romans, I know you guys want to play The Romans, but if you do, you got to also show this thing we got called Star Wars.
Yeah.
And that was the deal that they made with all the theaters. But after Star Wars blew up, it was the opposite. It was like, you can have Star Wars, but you got to play The Romans. Yeah. And that's what I don't remember.
During the same season? Like it was
during the run.
I joke about this. We joke about my age and Star Wars 77. And I do remember seeing Star Wars in the theater, but it played for 2 years.
Yes, it played for a long time. They don't do that.
I saw
Movies
late
for a while.
70s. I didn't see it 70s. I was way too young in 70s. I wouldn't have been brought in a theater at 77. But 79, maybe, but 80 right before Jedi or Empire came out. But I remember running down the aisles as a stormtrooper.
Right,
it's a vivid memory.
Yeah, well, it was because even when you hear Steph go, wow, because movies were so different back then. How they ran, they essentially ran like plays. Like plays in Broadway, they have runs, and a movie could be in a theater for a year, 2 years, 3 years.
Depending on the popularity.
Yeah, 100%. Like E.T. was in for. I mean, hell, even Titanic in the 90s was in for a lot longer. Like that doesn't happen today. No. Movies in theaters for like a couple of months and then it's gone. Especially now with all the stuff with streaming.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, and then gotta get it out streaming in 2 months from now.
Gone, and it's just times change. And the other thing was in the 70s.
I don't think VHS was even a thing yet.
No. And in the 70s, when this movie came out, it was right at the end of the Vietnam War. So it was like Vietnam War ended in 75. Mm-hmm. This movie comes out in 77. And all the movies that were in the theater at the time, the popular ones were like film noir, like dark movie, Chinatown, things. Those are the popular movies. And there were there was no fantasy sci-fi thing. So when George Lucas is pitching Wookiees and this and that, they're like, what the hell is this? You think this is going to be everybody on set thought that. What is this? This is.
I think Alec Guinness thought that.
Alec Guinness this is going to ruin my career.
Yeah. He's so good in it.
He's amazing.
So good in it.
Amazing in it. And it's like there's so much set up and it's so funny how because it shows you by casting the type of actors that he did that it sets up so much that you wonder after watching the scenes if you pick up stuff later after it's out, right? And when Luke and Obi-Wan are talking about what happened to my father, at the time we know that Lucas had no idea that Darth Vader was his dad at the time. He had no idea.
You think so?
No clue. First of all,
clue.
this Darth thing with the Sith, the guy's name was Darth Vader in it.
Yeah.
Darth wasn't a Sith title and all that
Right.
stuff. It evolved over the years, and I'm cool with that. But at the time, the way that Alec Guinness plays it so beautifully that when Luke says, "What happened to my father?" there's this look that Alec Guinness is just like, damn, did I tell this kid what happened? There was a young Jedi named Darth Vader. That shows you the point of, like, there was no Jedi named Darth Vader.
Right,
It's a Sith title now. But back then, it was his name. It was Darth Vader. He even calls him Darth at one point.
Yeah.
Only a master of evil, Darth. But it's because of the way that he plays it. And because that scene, look at that scene and analyze that scene.
I think it's one of my favorite
scenes.
I was just going to say the subtext.
Look at all the, talk about it, Mike. All the history of it.
It's just like you just see it. And like now, because we watched the 3 prequels so close to this one, you're just like, and what it did even more so was like, I cannot wait even more for Obi-Wan now.
Right.
Like
Yes.
seeing Beru and Owen, like even the line, I know it doesn't really fit so well, where it's like he's got too much of his father in him.
Right.
But you're like, it could work.
It could work now.
And it works. And you see that and you're like, it just, and that was the, we'll talk later about the problem that I had with certain things before, but like, it's just, even, the lightsaber, your father wanted you to have this. Well, he's lying to him. And then it's true. And the story they were telling at the time, it was 100% true. But now you
certain
play
point
it,
of view.
And it's like, oh, this all works so well.
Yeah, Steph, I mean, you how many times have you seen this episode?
Probably 10.
Okay, so enough times to where you like. So it was fun for you to revisit because you were prequel. You're prequel era.
That's
where
prequel
you came
era, and I didn't. When I was shown parts of the original trilogy when I was younger, I didn't like it because visually I had seen the prequels and I was confused by it.
Right.
And I was kind of a snob until college, and then right when Force Awakens was coming out, I rewatched everything, and I was like, oh my god, these are.
Well, that's a great point though. Real quick, that's a great point because this is what people. It's hard to take in because you and I, this is how we knew it. So when you hear something like that originally, you're like, really? But if you're a young kid and you see the visuals and the story of the prequels, and then you're given this 1977 film, it could throw you out. But the story's so good that by the time you reach a certain age, you go, there it is.
But like, and for me, like, and it's a generational thing too, because nowadays people, when they film stuff, they film their camera like this, But growing up with movies, you're seeing this, the cinema like this. But people, there's a whole generation when their phone is like that, they don't question anything. So that's how people are grown up. But then watching that film, watching them in Tunisia in the desert, like there's just a tactile feeling to it. Like the little thing where Luke gets on his speeder and it bounces a little bit.
Yeah.
Like that attention to detail, you
So
don't
much
get in
of it.
CGI sometimes. It's just because they were on set and he was on a crane and he stepped on it, but it made it feel like it's floating.
100%. And that was and that's what they always talk about with this movie. And we talked about it on this show.
Yeah.
I think even for Rogue One is that the beauty of it is that it looks like everything's been lived in. And I think you made the point last time was that when you see that ship, that opening shot, we talk about the droids, but it's not just the droids that brings you in right away. Because imagine, after everything I just mentioned, you with Chinatown and all those, and you're a moviegoer that's used to that kind of stuff, and there's some space thing that we're gonna watch. All right, we'll check it out whenever it's prime. You're expecting Land of the Lost at that point, like the TV show, right? So Land of the Lost was like you have like these like bad puppets and all this. That's what you're expecting.
Rubber costumes,
right? You're expecting that because that's what you were given. So I can suspend disbelief.
Right.
Star Wars in 1977 didn't ask you to suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
They just said, there's a spaceship.
Yeah.
And when you're sitting there and you're looking and kind of you imagine the first time in 1977 after all that, because we're spoiled now. Like we're so like desensitized because we believe that we'll be able to, like, look at what the Endgame does and look at all these movies do, and it looks like all this stuff. But in 1977, when you're sitting in that theater and you don't expect it, and then that ship, which feels like 20 minutes, is just going, you're like, oh, a spaceship, right?
And you didn't get credits like most movies threw up their credits.
Right up in the beginning.
Starring in the film.
Right.
None of that.
No, it was just right into it. You're in space. This is a different galaxy. Here we go. And it was an homage to all this different stuff. And I know people are tired of me saying this, but I have to make it so clear of the Jon Favreau comment of that this is not an homage to The stuff Mandalorian is not an homage to Star Wars. It's an homage to the stuff that's inspired Star Wars and everything, the Western, the spaghetti Western, the samurais, like all of it. And you look at it and like the serialized stuff that they did. So there's always supposed to be that element of cheese in there a little bit too. That's what George grew up with. Yeah. So it's in there, but it's like the cowboy in Han Solo, you know, the farm boy, the fact of the quest, you know, the wizard,
the steps of the hero, or the path of the hero,
hero's journey,
12 step, the Odysseus journey.
Yeah, and it's all there, and there's so much, like you mentioned, there's so much detail to it. Not just detail in the stuff that you're talking about with the crane, but detail in story, detail in character, the princess, the royalty, like everything that was made that made great storytelling. He borrowed and put it into this and made this grand thing. And the reason why you have anything, it doesn't matter. Like, for me, my favorite Star Wars movie of all time is Empire Strikes Back. But the reason why, you know, like anything else, you get it is because of the success and the way it's all set up.
The first, the way that you fall in love with and want to be on this journey with like 10 different specifically like 4 main characters. Right. You know it's Luke's story, but you're equally invested in Han and Leia and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader and everything going on around them. And they do it in a way where, you know, there's criticism that Luke's annoying. Of course he's annoying. You need a character arc.
Right.
Leia is rude to Chewie in the beginning, and that's a character arc. And that is such a good way of where you like them, but you are attached to them, but you don't love them yet. Yeah. That you grow with them.
And I think to a lot of the fans' credit now over the years that we have become so divisive and whatnot, you do see and you do understand with the new sequels. You're like, we grew up with these three main characters, and we never got them on screen together ever again. And you got them all back.
Right.
So there wasn't one actor who's like, I'm done with Star Wars. I ain't doing that anymore.
They all came back
like,
and
let's do this.
And they kind of blew the opportunity to have all three of them together.
So you do get a little bit of that backfire against Disney, and whether it's Kennedy or whoever involved. You're like, you guys had it handed to you. You couldn't have given have done that
because
for the
you
fans.
see what you want, because of what they accomplish in this movie and all the movies, right? It's like you want to see that the band get back together to play one more time. And the way that it's all set up is the way that you set up each character. It's brilliant in this. Like once again, Luke, he just is and you relate to it. How many people feel like stuck where they are, and there's so much more out there. They just need that push to get out and do and accomplish what's in there, right? And he's able to do that. And that scene when he goes back and he sees his I mean, it was brutal scene too.
Every time I watch that scene, I'm like, whoa, this is PG. That's real.
There was no PG-13 back then.
Oh,
they're scorched to the bone.
Burned corpses.
Yeah.
Like, and he comes back to Obi-Wan. I'm just like, oh my God, that's dark.
It's dark, and they went for it, right? And they went for that stuff, and that was the stuff that was kind of a blend. Yeah, it was a fairy tale. Blew up a planet. I mean, and Leia, you know, we said we were going to pull full criticisms to all of it. Yeah, Leia shakes that off pretty easy.
Yeah, I mean, like an entire. Yeah. Obi-Wan had a more visceral reaction.
Yeah.
Like, can we say, like, I guess because he was a smaller character in the films, and I didn't really focus. But Peter Cushing, again, we talk about. Again, it's like, because I was at home last night and I was kind of focused on the movie, and I was kind of sitting kind of close to the screen. He's so good.
So good.
And he's not one of those characters that I think about when I think of Star Wars, like in general. Obi-Wan, Luke, Boba Fett, Vader, but like Cushing in that role,
this is magic.
You're watching him going, like, and think of these actors, these great esteemed actors, and like, I'm doing what, George?
That's what I'm saying. There's magic. There's
a laser beam, and I gotta.
This is why when you hear this movie, this is one of those things where people, it's hard to argue against fate. It just is hard. Like, I don't believe in fate. This is hard to argue against fate, because it's like, how in the world do you convince Alec Guinness, Bridge over the River Kwai, Peter Cushing, one of the great actors of all time, discover Harrison Ford through this, you know, as a carpenter who you're not even going to give the role, and you wind up giving it to him, and he winds up becoming this iconic thing. Everything was cast perfectly. It's like everything just worked. I mean, this was a movie that wasn't supposed to work. This guy, I mean, George Lucas made billions of dollars from this one movie.
And every big thing at the time was trying to get toys made.
Yeah,
and Star Wars,
and he got all the dude.
They went like, please make them like
So do you know the whole story with the toys?
No.
Toys is phenomenal.
So George Lucas wanted to do. Mike was saying he's like merchandise will work here.
To help finance it.
He wanted them to help finance it, and they said we're not doing toys. He said all right, well then I get to keep all the merch, all the money from the toys that we sell.
Yeah.
And it made him billions of dollars.
Like, and they had it because I remember I had this.
Wow.
I think it was JCPenney or Sears. They put out, it was a piece of paper with the pictures. It's like, if you order this set, you'll get all 10 characters. So you didn't even have the physical toy to make. And then they
it
was
insane.
It
was insane. I had all that stuff.
I had it as a kid.
Yeah,
it was amazing.
It was amazing. The Millennium Falcon, like everything.
Oh.
He made
because after Star Wars comes out, like was it a couple months? Everyone's like, "How do we get Star Wars? How do we get toys?"
Yeah.
And he's like, the production cost like 6 months. He's like, "We don't."
Fox
have anything.
didn't know what they ran into.
So they were giving out pieces of paper,
and that's what it set the standard. Because then after that, they're like, "Oh, we can't loot everybody. You sign contracts. Oh, we get the toys. We get the toys if you do it."
Yeah.
Because it was not a thing.
Wow.
And so all this stuff happened, and it's insane. Like that's why I say like fate and how this all played out.
Yeah, because it wasn't even that popular of a genre back then.
No.
From what I've read in all of these pieces, like sci-fi,
you can't think of a good sci-fi film mid-70s.
Yeah, like that still stands to this day. Like I've argued before, I don't love the idea of reboots, but when you have a film like Dune, the technology wasn't there for the story they were telling, and neither was it for Star Wars, but they told it, and it still worked in a way that doesn't need to be you don't need to redo the original trilogy. But I think that it's cool to think of it as. And I think it's part of the reason of like the hero's tale. Like you had a whole generation falling in love with the idea that any day your life can change and you can make decisions for the best.
Yep, it's true. And eventually that if you don't make the right decisions, bad things can happen.
Yeah. Right.
But fate is this. It's so like as we mentioned, like fate of that. How it all worked is also the point of the story. And of what he's able to accomplish at the end, and you can't talk about Star Wars without the music, right? And like John Williams and the connection that was made at USC and what George Lucas, the people that he made, and the connections, from remember he was good buddies with Coppola, he was good buddies with all of them, with
group there.
Spielberg and all of them, and like so they helped him out, gave him advice, things that he was going to do, and then he went into it. But like you can see when you're on set, I mean, even so, right away I think of, and this is such a small thing, but like the Barbarian in the Schmodown, right? He's got this epic music that
our character
Craig
Babs,
the Barbarian,
yeah.
And so David B made this epic music for him, and it sounds like Conan the Barbarian. It's great. And when he comes out, it's effective. It's like, dun-dun-dun, and it's like, but when we film the digital matches, there's no music, and he looks ridiculous. He just comes out with Elvis on his shoulder, and he walks on it, and there's no music, and it's just.
Where's he walking?
In his living room. We're doing digital, but I'm just talking
about. And he does a walk out.
But he walks out, and then he goes, and there's no music, and it's so silly, right? But then when you put the music in, it's one. But can you imagine being on set in Star Wars, and these moments of poo poo, as opposed to
or with the lightsabers too.
There's the lightsabers. Oh yeah. And you can understand at the time that the crew members are like, we're never going to work again. And then it wound up making careers.
It's so funny because I love what the whole behind. Gosh, Rinsler. What is his name? Rinsler. R.J. Rinsler did the making of books. They're phenomenal. There's these. The man passed away recently.
Yeah,
but he did the 3 Star Wars films, the originals. He did an Indiana Jones one, but like we talk about the crew members and like the gaffers and whatever, they're probably on set, but then to hear the special effects guys, they were the ones I think that got it. They were like that group of like Dykstra and all those guys, Joe Johnson. But like they were like kids in the garage, 20-something-year-olds, like
finally getting to play.
It almost sounds like Steve Jobs and what's his name in the garage.
What I love the fact of where I live, I don't live in the exact area, but going through the areas, like I'm like, this is where these guys were. This is where it all started. This is like just trying to find space where they could. Is like
it's the models and the way they shot and the way that they shot the models and because the beauty of the fact that the studio was just kind of international and Lucas had to really do a lot of this on his own. It gave them more of that freedom, to then say, all right, let's play.
Do you ever think about that, like the industry, like nowadays, like people are working for peanuts for CGI stuff, CGI artists. They're working. Every house closes the minute because they're underbidding everyone else.
Right.
But back then, the Wild West, like these guys were like doing it for the love, and it's like
they set everything to this.
And then because it did so well, they created ILM and whatnot. And
Pixar. They created Pixar.
These are the guys that are like
people forget that George Lucas sold Pixar to Steve Jobs.
It's amazing to me.
I didn't know that.
I love those guys. That, and the effects and just
everything.
The Star Wars effects to me.
It was
like,
crazy.
Well, and I know the effects are awesome, but something that hit me harder last night when I was watching is the costumes are so
great,
so good.
It could have been so silly.
They could have been so lame.
Yeah,
so
and you look. I mean, when speaking, by the way, Marsha Lucas has been in the news a lot lately.
Oh yeah,
Marsha Lucas is one of those unsung heroes of Star Wars who edited these movies and who did so much and learned about, and that's why you see why she's so connected to the characters, obviously, with the comments she made recently a few years ago with Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams. But you see of the editing in this movie is fantastic. It's because it moves and it's got to get you with the music, everything. It's just that perfect synergy.
I put it in last night and I was just like, all right. Oh wow, it's 2 hours long. I didn't realize that.
And
it feels like an hour and a half. It never stops.
It just moves,
and it works.
And you can watch it over and over and over again because the story never gets old. Like the moments, and you analyze them. And going back to that scene of Luke and Obi-Wan when he's telling them, and then you hear that's the first time. Well, what's the Clone Wars? What's this?
Yeah.
The Darth Vader. That's who this guy is. And Darth Vader with David Prowse could have been very silly. And when you listen to the late great David Prowse and you hear him. Have you ever seen the footage without James Earl Jones and it's David Prowse's?
No.
It's ridiculous. It's like, you are part of the Rebel Alliance. It's so bad. And then you get James Earl Jones to go in there, and it's just, again, that synergy of the working because the costume, once again, watching that, imagine being there in the 70s to watch this and seeing this big costume come in with
Kenny
his helmet
Baker and a little tin can with
and
his
they're
head,
they're putting a little person in an outfit. There's a guy in a gold, like, this is going to be the biggest flop in history is what you would think. And it just moved, man. It just moved. And it set up the way films are made. I mean, think about all of the people over the years that you have heard. I was first inspired by Star Wars.
Yeah.
I was first inspired. And they're talking New Hope. They're talking about this movie because it sets up so much the Rebel Alliance. And I think you brought this up before. In what world today do they start with part 4 of the series?
That last week.
Yeah, right. Like, what world?
Never.
It's like, because he did have an idea of that it just starts right in the middle of it. This thing has been happening, and here's what it is. And he's written in his journals.
The crawl.
Yeah.
It hits so much harder after you see Rogue One.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I have so many friends that are executives, in this industry, and you could tell
nice flex, bro.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean that like that. I'd be a hell of a lot bigger of an actor than I am. No, but you just hear, you don't see a studio's fingerprints all over this film.
Right.
You don't see page after page after exec giving note after note just to give
It's an independent film.
You're just, and it's just like, because you could see it if this was made now, it's like, well, Luke, can we have Baru and Ben die in his arms and say like a final thing, like, go, live, do what you need to do? Like, why are they just seeing this? You would see the notes, and you don't see any of that.
No, it's also, I think, a big thing that happened in the prequels, right? I think it's something that hurt the prequels. I think because George was so big at that point, because George was not big in 77. George Lucas was young, up-and-coming guy trying to prove himself and needed all the help that he could, and he didn't have a bunch of yes men around him. He had people going, look, we have to do this. Harrison Ford was not listening to George Lucas on the directing on episode 4. He was taking his own chances, and he was making his own moves, and he was doing
awesome.
Yeah, he was doing what he had to do, and he made new things happen. But for the prequels, it was, George wants to do this, we do it. George tells you to do this, you do it. And I think that hurt a little bit, But anyway, speaking of Harrison Ford, and you watch these auditions, go back and watch the auditions for they're amazing.
The ones where there's
sitting on a couch,
a wicker chair, in one background. You're like,
oh really?
And,
it's funny you bring up Harrison Ford because I wanted to get into this. A little bit.
Please.
Watching this film and coming right off of Rogue One, and like you said, Steph, it just fits. Solo, on the other hand, like we said, it's a good sci-fi movie. Doesn't fit remotely with New Hope, and you're like, I don't see Alden Ehrenreich and Harrison Ford at all as the same person. And I know people we could discuss timelines.
Yeah.
We're blue in the face.
But with Obi-Wan,
I feel
right.
I know this doesn't happen, but I felt like Gareth Edwards had an iPad with New Hope every day on the set next to him in Video Village, and he's like looking, and he's like, okay, I think for Solo they're like, not even looking at any of that. Don't watch his films.
Right.
Don't you watch those films.
We want to make it totally different.
We're going to make our own thing.
Yeah, I know.
And I don't mean that in a bad way.
I know what you mean.
Because I like Solo.
And
as a film.
As a film. It's just like, I agree with you. And I was going back and forth with people after we did our rewatch, and they're like, no, the edge can come later on. I'm like, no. And I think Obi-Wan is a great point. Obi-Wan in the prequels is very different. He's very different from how he is in New Hope.
Yeah.
But he has his essence.
He's the same
But you
person.
can feel it.
You
feel him as Alec Guinness. You're like,
he's
Alec Guinness in 30 years or whatever.
Because he's arrogant. He's kind of cocky in the first one.
Yeah.
He's kind of a he's a little more hard edged with Qui-Gon. He's always questioning things. Very different from who we meet in Episode 4, but the same dude.
And there's one scene, because I watched it last night, and you could tell McGregor watched Guinness. And he is like, well, he's not dead. And he looks up, not yet. Like, knowing what he's been through,
right.
And he's still alive, like, it just
There's little things, but not to go too far off, because what we also like to do on these rewatches, what we have been doing was kind of the overall point, is how it connects into a series, right? Yeah. So I think the best way that this connects into a series for sure is Obi-Wan, from the stuff that we see, because everything you just said, Mike, it's like we didn't get enough of that stuff with Owen and Beru of why they were worried about him becoming too much like his father. From what we saw in the movies, they met once.
Yeah.
During that one time. So how would he know? But if there was more, maybe there were more times that we don't know about that now we can find out through Joel Edgerton when he shows back up and he tells, and he's having, and the fallout with Beru, Owen, and
crazy old man.
And the crazy old man.
Yeah.
Like, what was the fallout? We're going to see that now. I think that's pretty effective.
And did we know that Bonnie Pease, I believe that's her
Beru?
name, do we know she was cast? Because she just
Yeah.
posted out like the swag that they sent her. I think.
I'm pretty sure.
I think that was
okay. I didn't know if she was.
I'm pretty sure they were
announced.
both announced. Yeah.
But that's like, you watch that, it's like, hey, he's just a crazy old man.
Yeah.
I think he might be dead.
Tatooine ages people like a mother.
It's a fucking desert.
I would age me.
It's a desert.
I know that's the explanation for it, because like they're like in their like early 20s, and that's only 20 years. So you're trying to tell me that Beru and Owen are 40 something years old?
They didn't have UV SPF
That's true.
protection.
That's true.
You're moist for moisture. Of course you're gonna.
I'll take it. It's fine. I mean, same thing with Obi-Wan. I mean, Obi-Wan ages real quick.
Yeah.
I hope that they mention something about it in the series. How, like, time.
Oh, they're going to age him up, I think.
But but just aging him up of course they will. But mentioning something about how Tatooine, maybe it ages you a little bit more. So that would be not in an exhibition like, oh, why is he old? Well, the sun ages us. Like, that's stupid. but something, because here, you guys seen Interstellar?
Yeah.
Yes.
What we don't talk about enough in Star Wars is that...
Oh, Interstellar. I've seen it, but I thought you were talking about Inner Space.
No, it's a great one too, but it's very different movies.
Yeah.
But what we don't talk about in Star Wars is that time and space do not work the same on every planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They don't. In Star Wars, it makes it seem like it does, because you can breathe on every planet. You can do all that.
You're going to 15 planets.
So when you're moving through, it's no time changes. But time moves differently on different planets.
That's a good point.
So what happens on, like, in Interstellar, he's on the planet, and it's like the days are super,
that was awesome.
and it moves. So if they mention something on Tatooine that that you age a little faster, and it's something that I would accept. Certain parts.
It's a harsh life. Moisture
it is.
farmers.
It is.
Sand people.
But I think that's gonna play into it. It's gonna play into a lot of the conversation. It's gonna play into, I'm so curious. Again, here's another thing that they could do. We've talked about these flashback scenes.
Yeah.
That we all believe. I think we're going to see Hayden Christensen.
Yeah.
And now
As Hayden Christensen.
They're gonna deep fake him, make him a little younger, and I think they're gonna wind up.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think they'll wind up doing that.
To show the two of them and their friendship, right?
And I think that maybe the only problem is in the prequel, it makes it seem like when Obi-Wan asks Padme about the baby, he's like, is Anakin the father?
Yeah.
He's the father, isn't he?
Right.
Oh God,
So
such a good scene.
But that scene, though, I was going to say the fix would be that Anakin and Obi-Wan had a conversation where Anakin told him. right?
No, I want Obi-Wan to just feel that.
I know, and he did.
I want him to feel
But the
that.
reason why is because inside that, I always want, because if anything was ever to happen to me, I would want Luke to have my saber.
Yeah.
I would want
Yeah.
to,
think they're going to...
I don't think they're going to do that because I don't think they can do that now because of that thing.
I think Obi-Wan is kind of manipulating
Taking a
Luke.
liberty.
Yeah.
I think he's manipulating Luke. He knows he's like...
Your father wanted you to have this when he was old enough.
He knows
when he was
Vader.
burning
he
alive.
knows Vader, and he knows what he's done in the galaxy.
Right.
If the one person's going to stop him, it's going to be Luke. He's like, I need to get this kid in the ball game.
Well, him and Yoda knew it, right? And I think that
This is getting so damn excited for Obi-Wan. I cannot
too.
wait.
I
You're
know.
out of your damn mind.
Another question: do we see Yoda?
Jesus.
We haven't talked about this. Do we see Yoda in Obi-Wan?
Well, if Qui-Gon is in it, which
what I
we
mean.
think he is,
Then maybe.
and he teaches him, I'm going to teach you to talk to an
Communicate.
old
Force
friend.
Ghost, yeah.
So,
Yoda's alive though in that point, so you'd be able to, because Yoda in Rebels is communicating.
Yeah.
and it's going to be a puppet this time, a damn puppet.
Yeah.
I hope so.
There's no. Look at the success they
I
had
know.
with Grogu.
I know.
The's no chance they would do CGI.
It's gonna
for
look so
Yoda
good.
now. It would
It
look
looks so
great.
damn good,
Yeah,
too.
of course. Bringing back Yoda the puppet. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. But so the lightsaber fight is another one. Like, this is the first lightsaber fight that we really ever see. We're able to see. I mean, it's the introduction of the samurai sword, if you will, right? You have this fight. It's Alec Guinness was an old man and he's trying to do it, and it's like, all right, Obi-Wan, come on, you're rooting for him.
Right.
It's not the best lightsaber fight.
It doesn't bother me.
Have
though.
you seen the
I
edited
did.
version
Yeah.
of the one? Did you ever
Yeah,
see this
I
one?
did.
They did this version
Yeah.
of the.
It's
and
amazing.
It's
It's
amazing.
awesome.
I almost
I don't know
want them
if
to
I
add
like
it.
I don't know if I like
instead
that
of
added.
Jabba.
I don't know if I like it added because there's just a charm to these old
I know.
fighters at the end of their day.
I know. There is. but-
Darth is not.
I know. I get both sides.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a purist.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
If you
I feel
could
you.
take
If
out
you're going to do anything special edition, though, that would
all
have
the
been a good way to do
not
it.
Jabba.
that was
Yeah.
in there,
Yeah, that Jabba thing. Well, that Jabba thing.
McClunky.
Oh, they added McClunky. Is that still in
That's
there?
a
Yeah,
new
still in there,
thing.
too. Yeah.
That's not even.
No, that's
It doesn't
that's Disney Plus era.
Holy-
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
watch it with subtitles, it makes no sense.
It doesn't-
Because, like, the
it's like,
whole
why?
why?
Yeah, who knows?
Like,
but
You're making up
Who?
one word.
yeah,
That
Who
doesn't-
did that? Who?
I think
Why?
probably
why?
George Lucas.
It was
I would
bad
assume
enough
so.
with the gunshot, him shooting.
Well,
first,
we
and
didn't
then
talk about this. Shoot. Well, the
McClunky
shooting first gives
is off.
you.
No, it's terrible.
What do you mean? I'm not arguing. I'm about.
I'm preemptively stopping you. I felt like a little you're going to defend it.
I'm not. I'm definitely not going to defend it because
Christ.
it takes away the essence of what Han Solo is.
Yeah.
Because Han Solo
Yep.
needs to have that arc
Yes.
of this renegade will shoot you in your face to survive, and then you
It's a
realize
swag.
there's so much more by him going. Huh? And it looks so awkward.
Oh.
It looks so weird.
I'll say this: it gives. I think that Solo. One of my favorite moments is Han shooting first, like
Yeah.
with Beckett.
Yeah,
like I was
because
like
he
that. When I
walks
saw
up-
that in the theater, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
It's like the Indiana Jones moment.
Yes.
It's the Indiana Jones moment of like they didn't re-edit Indiana Jones. Like
Oh
the
my-
guy didn't like
can
throw
you
a sword at his head and then he
you
shoots him.
imagine?
It was so stupid.
Can you imagine?
It was so stupid. And it's like, but you understand the thinking of why he
I
wanted
can't
to do it.
understand the thinking.
I do understand the thinking. I don't agree with it, but I understand the thinking. And the understanding is, okay, well, I went back to do this after Han Solo. We know what happens in Return of the Jedi. We know what he does. We know the arc. We know he's one of the most beloved guys.
Yeah.
So people go back to watch it now. They can't see this guy just be a stone cold killer. And
Yes,
it's
you
like,
can.
but that's who he was.
It makes it a better
Yes.
arc.
yeah, and
They,
it's like
they literally showed up to the place, Scum and Villainy, and
Yeah.
said, "This is the worst
place.
the worst place
Yeah.
with the worst people." And
Right.
it's like, of course. And I love the way he walks away after. It's like it's so much.
Throws the coin.
yeah. Did you ever see that interview? I don't remember who said it. And when they asked Harrison Ford to like, did Han shoot first?
I don't know what he say.
Who cares? or something.
It's the most Han answer ever.
He does not. He was like
cares?
it's like a who cares or like no, or I can't, or I don't give a. He just couldn't give. He's like so passive.
Well,
the fact that they got him back, he wanted to die in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh
by the way.
yeah. And it would have been great if he did. It would have worked.
I like
get
that
why.
he didn't.
It
I like
made him
that
a
he
martyr.
didn't. Yeah, he wanted to die in the third one too.
What did he
and
say? I think he was on like Conan or something where Chewie shows up. And
Yeah.
He's like, get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
or
it was
something.
great.
Yeah,
he was
great.
Well, he decided
Crotchety old man.
He was crotchety old man, but it worked for Han Solo and Force Awakens.
course.
I actually
Oh,
thought,
yeah.
because I thought that for what Han Solo did, like, and I very different movies, but we're still talking about Harrison Ford. My biggest problem with Indiana Jones 4 was the same problem I had with like John McClane or Bruce Willis in the later installments. It just seems like it's Harrison Ford and Bruce Willis. It doesn't seem like they're the character. That was my biggest concern with Episode 7. I'm like, it's just going to be Harrison Ford, who does not care. It wasn't. It was Han.
No.
That's a good point. Yeah,
and he made Ben Solo and Rey's characters so much deeper.
I wanted to love Crystal Skull. I mean, hey.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
The Indiana Jones character in me, like, I have such a good bond with that. And it was such a disappointment.
Right.
And that's why with 5, I know it's Mangold involved.
It's Mangold. I
it's
can't
Mangold,
wait.
and everything I'm
very
seeing.
excited for 5.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and everything I'm seeing is I'm against this movie. I didn't want it to be made.
Oh, man.
But more and more,
it looks
like
Mangold,
it's in the
right direction.
I'm like, and it seems like he's going to pull a Han Solo, where he wants to do this final one. He wants to do it right.
I think that Mangold brings out the best in actors.
Yeah.
I mean, his movies have been fantastic lately, whether it's Logan or
even the Wolverine was good.
It was good. The ending of that movie just was my problem. The Wolverine itself, but look at the stuff he's done. I mean, I know it's silly, but Kate and Leopold is a really good movie, good performances.
Yeah.
Copland, no one talks about. Copland is fantastic. Do you know?
I gave you a chance and you blew it.
It's
you
great movie. Great movie.
Yeah. I forgot
and so
he
to see what
directed
he's going to do. But anyway, I want to see Mangold do a Star Wars movie, by the way. But jumping back into New Hope and getting us back on track. You stay on target.
Yeah.
Target.
I mean, a lot of the characters that descent on the Death Star, and looking how cocky Tarkin is, and the scene where they blow up Alderaan, all of that, like, it's just, there was so much.
Too trusting.
But like you were saying, Steph, where you can just jump to a scene in a movie, and you remember all. There's not one scene in the movie, whether it's C-3PO and R2-D2 with the Jawas, with any of this stuff. You can go to a chapter in your head and you could talk about it at length, because there's not one for what's a part that you're like, oh, I fast forward through this. Anything?
And New Hope?
Yeah,
nothing.
Not
a single thing.
Like
even the scene with the generals.
I love that scene.
Like, it's so good. Yeah. So many people don't have lines in that thing, but you're just watching everybody.
Oh, you're talking about, like, when Vader comes in and everything.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that scene, though? I'm glad you brought that up, because that plays into Star Wars politics. That shows you about the regional governors and all of that stuff.
And that brought up regional governors.
Yes.
It was the Bad Batch with when they're with the
Talaran?
the Twi'leks and not Chase,
but it doesn't matter. But they play
the regional governors.
Yeah, they play into the regional governors, because there's still that politics. The Emperor doesn't have a grasp on everything yet.
No,
it's the galaxy's too big. That it's not just like, he won everything. He's got to get everybody in line. But now they finally got this Death Star, and now they're going to scare the hell out of people.
Like, and fear will keep the other the local systems in line.
Because
and I loved it also. I didn't think about it at the time, but in
Rogue One,
where they say, target Scarif, he's like, single ignition, that's enough.
That's
and
it.
this one, like, we're going to show him the full power of this Death Star. Like that's like smart thinking, and it's like a little thing that just ties it all together.
Right, and they do the same thing on Jeddah, right? They just give it a little bit of
just a little
boop, boop, and then we're going to take this part out and and then when we finally see what it really does, we see it in Episode 4, and they do it on, like, Alderaan.
Yeah.
And it's like they were going to talk about Dantooine, but they're like, no, not. Like, okay, that's fine. You're far too trusting, and it's too far away to show an effective thing. But soon enough,
we'll get to them.
Soon enough, right? And then, like, all of it, and you also, I think they set it up well enough to where Tarkin's calling the shots, not Vader.
You feel Vader's not in charge. You're like, he is his henchman.
He tells him, because he says to him, he goes, Vader, enough of this. Right? And
he stops him, which is part of the reason I do love Darth Vader. But when people are like, he's the best villain of all time, I think he's one of the greatest villains. But he always was. Once he became Darth Vader, he was never fully in command. He followed commands by other people.
Always.
But it showed a good comparison of how there's multiple things in government playing in. Like, there's, like, evil people, there's people who are just in the military, there's people following orders, and that's when I think Star Wars politics really works.
Yeah, and the politics work really well in this one.
And think about it, like, the little things that Lucas did that he had I don't know what he thought about it. Like, when Obi-Wan's trying to get to the reactor and turn it down, and the two guys, like, you see those new T-16s? Like, just two guys shooting the crap. Like, oh my, they're not even standing at attention. They're just like, yeah, you see that chick? Yeah, you're looking good. What happened with her the other night? He's like, well, she left me went home. And it's like, oh, okay. Right. Get a drink after work? Oh, okay, I'll see you at the mess hall.
It felt like, it was like that.
Like, what do you think when you're writing that, like, that little tidbit?
Just that little bit, because he's, what was that?
Much.
And they go, all of it, and then there's that princess, hero, and they clearly didn't know that Luke was the brother at that point.
No,
and because he is just enamored by her.
Oh,
yeah.
And
they're like holding hands when they run.
yeah, and well, I think it was set up eventually to where it was going to be like this love triangle thing is what they were.
Oh,
Yeah,
they were
well,
going to try
because
to.
you
They
can see the
almost
way
do
she
it.
looks at both of them, especially at the end when she's handing them medals.
Yeah.
There's a connection with both.
Right, like we're
Yeah.
going to set this up. We're going to see where it eventually goes. Who's going and they probably, if they hadn't made them siblings, then she probably would have ended up with Luke because Han probably would have died, and it's probably what would have happened. But either way,
But I do like how Han was. He's been vocal about wanting Leia from the beginning. Like he kept saying, he's like 3 times where he's like, "Do you think a girl like her?" Yeah.
No.
no,
I don't.
You know what someone sent me, by the way. Speaking of that one, they have a scene that someone edited. It's really clever. They talked about right before that Luke comes in. They talk about I think a girl like that, and he starts thinking about Kira, and they have like
They edited that in?
Somebody edited on YouTube. And it worked because then Luke comes in and he goes, and then Han kind of snaps out of it, and you see him like kind of. It's good. Someone sent it to me. I thought it was pretty interesting. And there's an actual deep fake. The guy that they hired for Lucas did a deep fake with Harrison Ford on Alden's head. And
really,
yeah, and I'll show it to you guys before you leave. But like, and he was it works.
Yeah.
It works. I mean, his hair looks stupid, but it works. But anyway, there's so much depth with what happens eventually with her and him because you can see right away that they're attracted to each other because there's that thing of she's into the shoot flyboy and the trash compactor. We're gonna talk about that.
Right.
That whole thing of just the creatures of Star Wars and all of this stuff that is just makes this gal. It's really an extraordinary accomplishment. This entire movie, and every time you watch it. You have to realize it because if you're like in your teens, you're in your 20s, and you're watching them after you've been watching movies for however long you have been, you should appreciate what this movie gave you. Like you don't have the movies you have today.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that because I love spy films. I love spy films, but I was introduced to Bond with Roger Moore, and I go back and watch like the Connery Bonds. And they just don't work for me. And I've said this, and I know I take a lot of flack for this, for the Connery Bonds. But I appreciate what they did and what Goldfinger did for Bond.
Yeah.
But watching them, I'm like, well, these are tough to get through as opposed to the later stuff. And you have to respect what came before it because you wouldn't have it without that. But it's tough for people to go back and watch New Hope that grew up on this. Like, oh, this is.
Well, I think
I don't know about.
I
this.
think that's my wife is an example of that, right? My wife she likes the sequel trilogy. She's not a big Star Wars. She's not a Star Wars fan. She's not gonna look. She doesn't watch Last Jedi like I do and go, well, that's not how Luke. She doesn't care.
Yeah.
But when I try to show her the original trilogy, she's like, yeah, it's too dated for me.
Yeah,
she couldn't do it.
Yeah,
she's not. But
That's
she's not.
Interesting.
I know
But
a lot of
but
people
she's
who feel like
but
that.
dude, my
The
wife
new
is
trilogy.
a,
The original
remember, but
trilogy.
my
Yes.
wife is a super casual
Right.
movie fan.
Right.
So it's not. It's so that's the thing.
I'd have to do a rewatch with Shannon because she's never
seen the
she's
original
watched the
trilogy?
originals.
Okay.
I mean, she's watched the new sequels with me.
She's never seen the original trilogy.
I think she knows them.
Wow.
I don't. She had to have watched them, but I don't know if
She likes.
Yeah, as I'm saying, like I don't know what her attachment would be to
I
them.
think it's different though for her though too because she's so immersed in this world now.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be
Yeah.
interesting to see her take, knowing what this is, and not just hey, I like movies, so I go up and watch it.
Right.
She's an odd one when it comes to her movie taste.
Yeah, if you have context.
You know what else is a great scene is that I mean even by the way, and Chewie as he's modeled after a dog acts like a dog in the like I love the scene when the dynamic between Han and Chewie.
Yes.
And when Chewie gets scared, and he's like, "What are you scared of?" He's like, "There's nothing there," and he shoots it. Come on, you baby! It's like that whole thing with the two of them.
Yeah.
There's just those little moments that gives you. It's hard now with a 2-hour movie, and we've talked about this to set up characters like that because normally that's why I love television the way I do because
Yeah,
it takes you more episodes. It's a feat to be able to do exactly what Steph was talking about earlier, and that's establish all of these characters. You know. And feel,
Yes.
you know the characters of the droids. You know what Ben Kenobi's all about, and he's not even in. And killing Alec Guinness in the first movie is ballsy as it gets. He's your most established.
It gets a little ridiculous in Jedi. Him sitting down on a log.
Well, I mean I think again they've wind up explaining that down the line. You know,
Okay.
but
Fair
at the time,
At the time,
because
Empire works great. in the snow when he shows up.
Yeah.
Great.
Right, but it's it's one of those things. It's like it's when you after now that they've explained what you're able to do with matter and stuff, and what you see Yoda do in Last Jedi, what you see Luke do, and
I get it.
Like there is physical attachment to or physical stuff that
explains
that can do. Yeah, but
I agree with the Chewie statement. Chewie did such a good job of bringing out the personalities of everyone around him, and you could see how they were interacting because Han is a jerk, even to Jabba, he's like, "You're a wonderful human." Like Jabba's not a human.
Well, he was though. Did you know that? Wait.
Know this?
Oh yeah. So this is why they look so awkward. So that was a deleted scene.
I'm gonna pull it up for you here.
And they shot the scene with a human being, and Jabba the Hutt was a human being.
Oh my.
So that's why he says.
I thought it was a Smeagol turn.
But the reason why it played was the way that you took it.
Yeah.
Because he calls him a wonderful human. He's not a human. He's a Hutt.
Yes.
And so, but in the scene when Harrison Ford was acting it, he's a human. He was a human.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you ready to be blown away, Steph?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it made me think like, oh my! I love that Han attitude. Wow.
A big guy in a fur coat.
No way.
Yeah, so it was
big guy,
yeah,
and that's why he steps over the
So that's
tail.
why when he walks by,
he's walking behind him.
He's just walking behind him, but
and
they have
says,
him.
Ow.
That's why they added the stupid. That's why I don't like the scene. Not because it looks bad, because it doesn't look great. I don't like the scene because of the way it plays Jabba as kind of a silly, dopey
I
thing.
think Jabba would have killed him with that.
Yes, we know that they can walk, but it made it sense like he was this just gelatinous thing just sitting on a slab.
He's a gangster. He's a
Like a
gangster.
slab.
And he was terrifying in Return of the Jedi. He's terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't mind the fact that they had a good relationship. That makes sense. It makes sense that Jabba and Han had a good relationship.
Because he would like his attitude, I think.
And I like that he says to him,
"You're one of my best. You're my best smuggler."
I love that. That part, I love it. It's just like when he steps. The reason they had him step on the tails because they had to make that look right. And he's like, "Ooh," and it's like it just.
I don't think
takes
anyone would have noticed though if he just like walked like.
Maybe I don't know. It just looked. It was.
Someone would be like, "Where's
so,
the tail?"
It was so
Well, what's
silly.
worse?
It was so silly that he steps on his
But
tail.
I love,
Like, come on.
what I
Jabba
do
would have,
love
like,
though
fed
about
you
that,
to the Rancor.
and I do hate the Boba Fett look at the camera.
Oh, you do?
I hate that.
Oh yeah,
He just walks by and looks at the camera.
It's like,
You're
why?
But I love the dialogue.
Yeah,
He's like, I cut you in.
Yeah.
I'll cut you in. It might take. He's like, you'll give me 20. He's like, Jabba, don't push it. 15.
Yeah,
like
because
that
it makes you like
dialogue
There's nothing about the dialogue and the story part. There's nothing in there where we're
guess
talking
if the
about
setup's something
we're
nice.
talking about Greedo where he shoots for that takes away from who the guy is.
Yep.
This scene
It's
and
Han.
This doesn't take away anything from
Nope.
it. It just looks silly.
On top
Yeah.
of all right, he's got these guys. He's going to run against Imperials. They got trouble. I'm going to do this, but now I'm going to do Jabba, and I'm going to do this deal. He's like, he's dealing, wheeling and dealing.
And it sets up. He's like,
to
I
save
got to
his
get back
ass.
to do this, and then he decides and it does go back to this thing. Some of the stuff that I do like about Solo, saying that it's not real. That part of it, to be fair, of the stuff we were saying, the character, I think they still knew what they wanted to do with him because they said he's a good dude.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he knows what he's supposed to do. All he's got to do is he's got to get that money. He's got all the money. Just get it to Jabba, and you're good.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do it. He goes back and he saves and he helps. It's one of my favorite things with Vader. What? It's when he says because Vader Force is strong with this one.
Yeah.
And that whole moment of getting into the trenches, and then Luke, you have your thing down, and he's like, "It's all right, I'm going in." And then when you see a lot of the footage that we've seen in Rogue One with the guys as they're, but it all plays. It all plays. That space battle at the end, man.
So good.
So good.
It's one of my favorite scenes ever.
Yeah.
The New Hope space battle.
New Hope
Space battle. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, you can pick a chapter, go through it, and then when Han's talking to him. I mean, when Obi-Wan's talking to him through the visors, he's just trusted. Use the Force, Luke.
Turns off the tracker. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't need it, and it's like you see him kind of coming into his own, and the fact that how he wanted to be a pilot, and the other thing that it was harder to do as we talk about all the great stuff they did with character that they wanted to set up. The one thing that was lost that I think that they really wanted to try, and there was some stuff that was brought back in, there was other stuff that was cut, was his relationship with Biggs Darklighter. Right?
Yeah.
Because Biggs was his buddy.
It's confusing.
I know.
It is confusing.
It was always confusing to me when I was growing up because you'd mention Biggs, and then you never saw the deleted scenes and stuff that they did, but you always mentioned him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Biggs is right. I'm never gonna get out of here. And then when you do see him in that one scene, but even when Biggs dies, he's just like, And he just come flying by. He just kind of feels it for like a second, but he doesn't make a big deal out of it.
I get why they added it in.
Yeah, me too.
And
me too.
It doesn't detract from me like the Jabba stuff.
No, no, not at all.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me, but I already knew that he wanted to get out and wanted.
I would have liked to have seen, if they were going to put like they did, the scene with him, Biggs on Tatooine with him.
Yep.
Like the picture of them looking off.
Have you seen that scene?
Well, I saw that with the Tashi station, right? With
when he goes when he's
Hallie and Tank or something.
So it's all there. It's the three of them. They're talking. But that is one of the scenes that I think it's a good scene. Yeah. But understood why it's cut. You don't need it because there's that scene where Luke is looking up into the sky and he sees the Death Star. He sees the battle out, and you can see all that. Fun. Not necessary.
No,
I get
because we've seen it already.
Don't need that.
Don't need it.
And
but
if Biggs never showed up at the end,
don't need it. But the fact, when he does, it's like this kind of, now that they've added this thing in, he doesn't really. It's not as bad as Leia going, everybody's dead on the planet. Whatever, I'll move on.
Gosh.
So we have no time because they even say to her, they like, sorry, and she says we don't have time to grieve or whatever.
We talk about the time of editing. We see about editing is like cutting the big subplot.
Yeah.
That was one of those things that tightened the film up.
Yeah.
It was just a layer that we didn't need because we got the entire story of Luke without that.
Right, you didn't need it. But the way that they set up all these arcs for all of our characters, the princess, the leader who's got to make the calls, does what she's got to do, gets back. They get her back for a reason. She's dealing with the loss of her planet, and then meets these friends and and it's back to what we said before. It's fate, right? Yeah. These people come together. She brings them. They fight. Here's Luke uses the Force. Bail Organa was right. It was because of Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was the one who was able to make this all happen, right? Yeah. He brought you in the prospect, and he knew, and Obi-Wan knew it was time to bless you. Knew it was time to go out. And that whole scene where he looks over and he's just like, "If you strike me down now, I'll become more powerful than you possibly imagine." Like there's so many different times. So many different times that how many times you re-quoted that, thought about that moment, and then Luke needs to see it. He knows Luke needs to see it. It also shows you the difference of what has happened, how the Force, and it's kind of the reason that I still gravitate more towards the Force users in the original trilogy. They become a little bit more superhero-ish in the prequels and even in the new trilogy and even in the animated series. Because if it was today, if they were making it, Darth Vader just opens that thing right back up. The door shuts. When the door shuts in, he doesn't open it back up. He's like, he can't open it back up. He's not.
What part?
When Luke and the rest of them are after he kills, the door, the blast door shut, and it's like that they're able to get out of there because it's shut. Darth Vader today, you look at even in Rogue One, what he would have done. Well, and the other question is for Rogue One, why didn't he just open the door?
Yeah.
Or why didn't he catch the ship before it left? Like I've seen Jedi where they
catch the ships. That's true. I guess the door part of it is he was trying to or just keep it closed as opposed to he could have done that as opposed to slicing people in half. But
no,
it's cooler.
But it's cooler. But either way, they're little tidbits, nothing that ruins it. You're like that's fine, and stuff evolves, right?
Yeah.
You want to see more stuff.
But Obi-Wan, Alec and Ewan McGregor used the Force similarly. Like, I love the way he's like, these are not the droids you're looking for. It's the same exact, and that really works. Like, it draws the connection.
What do they say? He knew the assignment? Is that the thing?
Or which one?
Oh, he understood the assignment.
He understood the assignment.
He did.
He understood the
He
assignment.
really did.
Yeah, he did. He really did. And I think that's why he wants to play the character again.
Yeah.
I think that's why. I believe that this will be the
crown jewel.
Yeah, it's only because
I think so.
No,
you're disappointed. Like,
no, but I'm saying I don't want to be blasphemous here. I just think this might be the best interpretation of Obi-Wan that we're going to see.
Yeah,
because you're going to get 6 episodes of this, and you're going to get full detail on this guy than we ever had before, and you're going to let a great actor like Ewan McGregor and a great director, Deborah Chow, and you're.
I don't like to say stuff like this, not having seen a single thing, because I don't say this about movies.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is probably going to be my favorite Star Wars thing.
Out of anything.
I don't say this for Batman,
no, I know
DC
what you're
films.
saying.
I don't ever do this.
It's got the potential.
But
it does.
Doing this rewatch, seeing The Mandalorian and how good Disney, the TV,
and how good Deborah Chow is.
Gets it. And how good Deborah Chow, Filoni, all that stuff. How they get it, the volume, everything involved.
And it's got potential. It's got the potential.
It can only go down, I think, for me. Because I don't like saying stuff like that. But
what I
used
to say is, to me, since Return of the Jedi, right?
Yeah.
there had not been a great Star Wars movie. There had not been a great
Since Return of the Jedi.
Since Return of the Jedi. Not great.
Oh, I thought you meant Empire. No, or New Hope.
After Return of the
Jedi.
Jedi. I said there had not been a great. I said there have been very good Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
It has been a great Star. I think Rogue One is a very good Star Wars movie.
So good.
Oh, I'd call it a great one.
A great Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Like, I think, to me, Mandalorian to me is great Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's not, and
Agreed.
I think Obi-Wan is going to be great Star Wars.
I think so.
Everybody agrees, if you're a Star Wars fan, like, it's like pizza. All Star Wars is
Right.
It's
Even bad. Even when it's bad.
Even if
still
you don't
good.
like the pizza, it's still pizza.
Yeah.
And I feel the same way, and I think that this is going to be a great slice of pizza.
Yeah, I think so.
So, anyway, that's our rewatch for New Hope. I enjoyed it very much, but even though I was looking forward to it, as much as I was, next week is, I mean, come on.
I haven't seen Strikes Empire in a while.
Really?
Yeah.
I watched it, I think, a week ago, and I'm going to watch it again. It's my favorite. It's my favorite movie of all time.
It's unbelievable.
And that's the one for me out of the 3 originals that the special editions. I don't mind.
Doesn't hurt.
Doesn't hurt.
The adding of Bestman stuff is great.
Bestman stuff.
It's great.
You want to talk about what the goal of that should have been?
Yeah.
The Bestman stuff was the
because you know why? It's
perfect.
subtle.
Yeah.
It's subtle.
A little
We'll
thing out
talk
a window.
about- It's
couple
subtle.
little buildings
They
here and
don't
there.
add stuff. It's not Yoda going, hey, you know, or
Yeah,
just something
it's-
weird. Or the
The
NASCAR
Empire stuff
scream.
works so good.
I want that
Yeah.
as my text tone.
It's unbelievable. All right, listen.
Yeah, let's get out of here.
This was a lot of fun, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining us. A reminder, if you're in the Los Angeles area, this Sunday in Burbank, I am going to be at Flappers Comedy Club, so please go and check that out. We will be there. It's going to be there September 26th. That's this Sunday, 9 p.m. A lot of great comedians going to be there. Myself and Mark Ellis sharing the stage for the first time in a little bit, and in New York as well in October. You can get tickets at markellis.live for the New York show. You can get tickets for Flappers in the description of this video. Thank you to Mark. Mark? Yeah, I think it's for Mark Ellis. He's a good person. Thank you to Mike. Thank you to Steph. Thank you to all of you guys. We appreciate you being here. Really love doing these rewatches. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever podcasts are found. Thank you guys so very much. We'll see you next time.
I can feel your anger. It gives you focus, makes you stronger.